everyone, my good name is Esther and I'm so happy today. I want to welcome everyone to this program that, by the way, inaitangwa Let's Talk About It. If you are new here, you are much welcomed. Na kama wewe ni mwenyeji, I want you to sit and relax, tusome pamoja. We have a very interesting topic called soul ties. Sijui kama ushaisikia about soul ties ama ushaijipata kwa soul tie. Today tunaenda kutackle that topic very well, and as usual we have our coach, our mentor, anaitwa Minister Kezia. Kezia, how are you?
Fine, thank you, Esther.
Welcome to back to our channel.
Thank you so much.
Are you ready for soul ties?
Sure, I'm ready for soul ties and I'm ready for today.
Na sisi tumekaa hapa chini tusikize about soul ties. We want to learn, we want to know everything about soul ties because this is a new thing and watu hawajuangi what is soul ties. Kindly, will you take us through?
Sure, I will.
Okay, karibu sana.
Thank you so much. Welcome back, our viewers. It's been a while. I'm glad to be here. I want to welcome all of us back to our channel. As we have been told, our channel is called Let's Talk About It Now. It's a privilege to be here. We talk about things that are disturbing people, things that people shy away from discussing, yet there are things that are affecting people's lives day in and day out, both young and old people as well. And today's topic is a very interesting topic of soul ties, which most people believe it's not something that exists. But in essence, soul ties exist. They're there. They're affecting people. They're affecting so many relationships, even as we speak. And as we diverge to understand what a soul tie is, how a soul tie comes in, how it works, and how we can identify someone who has a soul tie, we shall understand and see the way forward. We shall find out if we have soul ties ourselves. We shall understand if somebody we know is involved in soul ties, and also help them on how to break from these soul ties. So welcome back, and we're going to start by understanding what is a soul tie and how a soul tie comes in. And before I define what a soul tie is, I would want us to start by understanding that a man or a human being is a triune being. What do I mean by a man is a triune being? A man is someone who has been made of a soul, of a spirit, and then domiciled in a body. A man comprises of these three components: a spirit, a soul, which are domiciled in a body. So when we talk about a soul tie, it's not something that happens with the body. It's not something that happens with the spirit. It's something that it's a connection between souls. It's a connection between two souls. So it's something that you cannot see. And the point I would want to put across is the devil is not afraid of what you know. Because most people think that things that we don't know makes the devil afraid. Things that are always there. Principles that were set in ancient days. Laws that were set in ancient days still works. And the devil works with something we call regarity. Spiritual realms work with regardism. Something that is done and there is a legal ground for the devil or for the enemy to hold on to. That is how spirituality works. And that is why we want to understand what is this thing we call soul tie. By understanding that man is triune, he has a soul, he has a spirit, and he has a physical body. Now, we have to make sure that people's souls are pure, people's spirits are clean, so that even as we serve God, even as we continue pursuing our purpose and our destiny, that the enemy doesn't have any legal ground to hold you back, to hold on you. And God is looking for vessels that are pure. God is looking for vessels that are consecrated. He's not in any hurry to use vessels that are not pure, because that they have tied themselves on spiritual things or on soulish things. He's not in any hurry. And also the enemy is so happy to see people who don't understand spirituality, people who don't understand how some of these things work, and he uses that as a legal ground to pull people back. It's so sad that if we look at our world right now, with the upcoming of technology, so many young people are introduced to technology at a very young age. So much information is out there. that at the age of 12 years utasikia msichana ama kijana akona boyfriend ama akona girlfriend at the age of 12 years. Unlike things that we didn't used to hear in our days or in years back. But there's so much information outside there. Information that is not even filtered. Exposing our young people, exposing our children. So if we don't teach them, they are going to learn from the internet. Now, I want to define what a Psalter is, because that is why we are here. That was just a small introduction so that we get familiar with what we are talking about.
Before you go on,
okay.
When you mean social media is exposing a lot of things,
yeah.
To be specific, what are those kind of things? Because I want the viewers to understand. If we are talking about soul ties, ni vitu gani hizo zinaexposiwa kwa social media that zinaweza fanya mtu ajipate kwa soul tie.
Okay, can I suspend that question first so that we understand what a soul tie is,
okay.
How it comes about,
okay.
Because if I'll answer that, I'll be going ahead of myself.
Okay.
Now let me define what a soul tie is. A soul tie is a deep spiritual connection between two people. A deep spiritual connection between two people, not necessarily intimate people, because in most cases when we talk of soul ties, what comes in most people's mind is somebody they have had an affair with, is somebody they have been close with intimately. But I want to make it clear today that a soul tie is a deep spiritual connection, not necessarily on people of intimate, not necessarily of people of opposite gender. It can happen between two girls, it can happen between a mother and a child, it can happen between friends, it can happen between couples. So a soul tie does not necessarily mean that it's with someone who you have been intimate with, but it is a deep spiritual connection between two people. Remember, we have said man is triune in nature. When your spirit and the spirit of another person connect, we say you have a soul tie. Right?
Okay.
I hope we are together.
We are together.
So, things that happen within a man, most of them, actually 99% of things that happen within a man are spiritual. In the physical, we just manifest what is happening in the spiritual realm. If I get somebody if I get connected to someone and we develop that bond, it first begins within our spirit before we manifest it to the spiritual. If there is not that connection, when you see someone, your heart starts racing, you feel like umekrashia mtu. It happens from the inside first before it gets manifested to the physical. That's why I'm saying we need to understand when we talk of a soul tie, it is not necessarily between people who are intimate.
Okay.
And as I have said, the body is a container carrying the soul and carrying the spirit. So the things that happen in the spiritual realm are manifested now through the body. But what happens in the spirit and in the soul. So we need to understand what is a soul. We need to understand what is a spirit for us to. Sure. Now, there is this component of a man that we call the spirit. In the spirit of a man, that is where we get communion, the desire to commune, the desire to connect with the higher being, that desire to connect with either God, that desire that makes people go to seek for powers from the witchcraft, that thing that could take our old parents to the altars in the Mlima. They could say they are going to Mlima to do altars kwa miti, those miti walikuwa wanaita the Mugumo trees. They go there and want to connect with the higher being. That one,
the ancestors.
Yes, with the ancestors. It is in the spirit. That urge to connect with the higher being is found in the spirit of a man. In the spirit of a man is something we call the intuition. Intuition. A part that makes you sense that things are not okay or things are not good. After you hear somebody say, I trust my guts. Like somebody tells you, I'll not go through that route. Something is telling me that route is not safe. we call that part of a person the intuition. So kuna mtu you'll hear akikwambia I trust my gut.
Okay.
That is the intuition, and it is found in the spirit of a man, that component of a spirit. I hope we are together.
And we are together.
Now, how we develop the spirit man and how we feed the spirit man to grow is through prayer. A person who is prayerful will always have the intuition very sharpened. They'll always have their instincts very sharp. Their antennae are very sharp because they are very prayerful. Somebody who reads the word, somebody who goes for fellowship, that is the component that we find in the spirit. Now, there is the other component which we call the soul. The soul. The soul is where your mind is found. The home of your mind is your soul. And in the mind is the realm, that is where we find the sensory realm. And when I talk of the sensory realm, that is where we get the 5 common senses. That is where they're based. Your sense to taste, your sense to touch, your sense to see, that one is found in your soul. It's not found in your eye. Let me ask you a question that I ask most people.
Okay.
What do you use to see? Most people will tell you, I use my eyes to see. But now I ask you, does a blind man has eyes?
No.
They do have eyes, but they can't see.
Oh,
But
they
their
have
eyes
eyes.
are there, right?
Yes.
So if they're having their eyes, what do they use to see? It is that common sense we call the sense of seeing, and it is found in your soul. The sensory realm is found in your soul. Look at a person who has died. Their eyes are there, but they can't see. Their tongue is there, they can't taste. Their hands are there, but they can't touch.
Oh, because the soul has already left.
The soul has
body.
already left.
Okay.
That is why we say the sensory realm is domiciled in the soul. Or when we talk of the soul of a man, what do we mean by the soul? That is where all the sensory realms are found.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Remember when we started, we said man is triune in nature, and the body is just a container to carry the soul and to carry the spirit.
The spirit. Okay.
So the functionality of these senses is found in the soul. That is why we say a man has eyes, this physical gadget we call the eye, but they cannot see. They have the physical gadgets, they are left when somebody is dead, but they can't, those functionality of the senses can't function because they are located or they are found in the soul. The soul is where we find the data, all the memory. All the data that you have had, they are stored in your soul. All the memory that you have had, they are all stored in your soul. Memories that you have of since when you are a young child until now. All that memory is stored in your soul.
Now, let me ask.
Okay.
There's some people who lose their memory.
Yes.
Does it mean so leo inakwanga ime left the body?
It may not be the whole soul that has left.
Okay.
Look at, let me give an example of a computer. In a computer, you have something we call a hard disk. In the hard disk, that is where you store all the memory, right? If you format that hard disk, every memory will be lost. That all the information or all the data that you had saved in that hard disk will get lost. So somebody who has lost their memory is like a part of their hard disk. The one that is stored in their soul has been formatted, right?
Okay. Is it possible?
It is possible. It is possible.
Or maybe they lose their memory because maybe the brain is not functioning.
A part of it.
A part of
A part of it. Because even if somebody has lost their memory, they still remember a few things.
Oh.
Right? So it's like there's something that might have happened in their nervous system that tampered with that
connection.
And that is why no, we are talking of the soul right now, where the memory is found. And we have said the memory is in the soul. Okay? So somebody who has lost their memory, I've given an example of a computer, a hard disk, where some of the memory maybe has been deleted or has been formatted. So a portion of the mind of that person, maybe something happened in their nervous system and it affected that portion that stores their memory. Right? Now, the other part that we have in the soul of a person is the heart. Not the gadget that is used to pump blood. Right? I'm not talking of the gadget. I'm talking of the heart. Because, remember, as we were talking of the sensory realms, the kind of look you're giving me is like, I'm getting you lost. Kindly follow across.
I'm not lost. I'm just curious. I'm listening.
Now, remember, when we said the functionality of these senses is found in the soul.
Okay.
So we have the heart, which is the gadget that pumps blood, right? But we have the heart, where is the seat of our emotions. Where do our emotions sit? What do we use to feel? We feel with our heart. All our emotions are seated in the heart. And this heart is found in the soul of a person. Okay? You understand now?
I get you.
So, and in total, they say a man has 72 emotions. And all these emotions are processed in the heart of a person. All of them are processed in the heart. And also in the soul is where we find the place of the will. Remember, God gave us a choice to be choosing. The place where you make your choices is where your will is. And it's also found in your soul. So if you can look at all the descriptions we've given, the soul of a man carries like almost 75% of this person. All the activities of a man happen in their soul. This body that we see is just a container to carry the soul and to carry the spirit. And now, remember when we started, we said that with this era of technology, there's so much information that is not even filtered, that people are feeding themselves, including our children. And you asked me a question, which I told you we shall get there. Now, we said we feed the spirit man with prayer, with fellowship, and with the word. Now, the spirit man is fed with information.
Okay.
The spirit man is fed with information. Now, it depends on how you act. Depends on what kind of information are you feeding your soul. Everything that you consume, you store it in your memory. You store it in your heart. And even the word of God says, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Right?
Yes.
So if you have the abundance of the word of God in your heart, that is what your mouth will speak. If you have a lot of rubbish in your heart, that is what you'll speak. Actually, somebody made me laugh the other day by saying a quote that was quoted by Bishop JJ, that if somebody calls you a dog, please don't get angry. It shows that there are so many dogs inside that person that one of them escaped. Okay? So, it depends on what you're feeding your soul. So with that background, I want to believe we have understood the components of a man, so that when we talk about a soul tie, it will be easy for us to understand what is a soul tie and how it comes about. Now, we're going to talk about the types of soul ties. We have two types of soul ties, and the first one is a temporary soul tie or an emotional soul tie. A temporary soul tie or an emotional soul tie. And this one is generated by words. Right? You meet someone, you tell them words of affection, you tell them sweet words. You know, somebody loves, or the way a man was created, or how God wired a man. A man was wired to be appreciated.
Yes.
When you appreciate someone, they feel good. When you tell a person words of affirmation, they feel good. Right?
Yes.
So when you tell someone sweet words, you tell somebody good words, they develop a soft spot for you. They start getting connected to you. And that is what we call an emotional soul tie. It is not necessarily between people who love each other like lovers.
Okay.
This is where we find, even in the Bible, the connection that was there between David and Jonathan. They had a very deep connection. That was a soul tie, though it was a temporary one.
Okay.
Remember, this is a son of the king, and a friend, that they were very tight friends. That is an example of a soul tie from the Bible. That Jonathan couldn't stand the thought of the father, King Saul, planning to kill David because of how close they were, because of the connection that they shared. Jonathan was ready to risk even the throne for the sake of his friend.
Yeah.
They had a very tight connection. Another connection, another example I can give of this soul tie in the Bible is in the story of the 12 sons of Jacob. Remember when they sold Joseph to Egypt, and a time came, there was famine, there was drought, and Jacob sent his sons to Egypt to go and buy food or to source for food, and Joseph recognized them. And since he recognized them, he recognized his younger brother Benjamin. He held his brother back. And the brothers were telling Joseph, if we leave Benjamin behind, our father will become sick if he doesn't see his son. Because he had lost Joseph, and now they were imagining the kind of loss they saw the father grieve. Now he's going to miss the brother. And they are telling Joseph, if we leave our brother back, our father will not be will become sick. He'll not imagine losing another son, a son that he loves. There was a deep connection between Jacob and the sons of Rachel. That is Joseph and Benjamin. And that is why the brothers of Joseph are telling him, if we leave our brother back, our dad will become sick. That is the other source of an emotional ties. An emotional tie can happen even between sisters. Have you ever seen sisters who are very tight, very close? That is an emotional tie. Brothers, sisters and brothers, siblings. This is an emotional tie that can happen between that. Another emotional tie can happen between men of God and their congregants. Yeah, this emotional tie can happen between a pastor and people who he shepherd. Remember, the things that they share with their pastor, some deep things that makes them become vulnerable, things that they make them feel vulnerable in the hearts of their shepherd, things they can't share with someone else, they share with the pastors, and they believe that after I've shared this, they'll pray for me and things will be okay. And funny enough, you can be a young pastor who has not married, and because of the support you've been giving members of your congregation, and especially ladies, and sorry to say this, the moment you announce you're getting married, and you say, I am getting married to sister so and so, you'll be surprised some will leave. They leave because they'll feel the connection we had will be broken by you bringing in another person. We shall not be able to share things we used to share with you. They leave because they feel that connection can't continue. That's another way that an emotional tie comes along. Now, another way that we can get emotional ties is through kissing. Aha.
What do you mean?
Yes. When you kiss someone, this one can bring an emotional tie. It can create an emotional tie. When you kiss someone, it's not about your mouth touching their mouth. It is your soul doing that. Remember, we talked about the home of the sensory realms, the ability to touch, the ability to feel. It is in your soul. So when you kiss someone, there's that connection between you and them. When your souls are getting connected. And if you talk to most people, they'll always tell you, I can never forget my first kiss. Even if they were small babies or girls, they'll always remember. Because it was a transfer of this connection between these two souls. So through kissing, you can create a soul tie. Another way you can create a temporary soul tie is through cuddling. You see people who cuddle, ile kushikashikana. As you cuddle past this person, there's an emotional connection that is created. Because your vulnerability is exposed to this person. There's no way you can go to a person who cuddles you and you're not close to them.
True, that's true.
You have to be very close to them. It has to be somebody you trust. It has to be somebody you love. And as you do that, it creates a tie that is so tight. Look even at parents who love cuddling their babies.
With your babies.
Yes, there's such a connection that even breaking that connection becomes
So
hard.
good.
It's because it's beyond the touch. It creates this emotional tie, but a temporary tie. We are talking of temporary ties or emotional ties. Now we're going to talk about the other type of a soul tie, which is the permanent soul tie.
Wow.
Yeah, or a spiritual soul tie. Remember, we've talked about the temporary or the emotional one, and now we're going to talk about the spiritual or the permanent soul tie.
That one sounds so serious.
Yeah, and it's very, very serious. Very, very serious. Now, we are going to cut at that moment first. We get a small break, and then we'll handle that. Thank you so much.
Well, guys, a small commercial break, and then we are going to be right back.